I am part of the world's unluckiest family ever. Hit subscribe, this is a wild one. To start off, we're broke. Not the kind of broke where you can still afford Netflix and the occasional avocado toast. No, we're the kind of broke where you find yourself Googling, can you eat ketchup packets for dinner? Spoiler, you can, but it's not a good time. But being broke is just the tip of the iceberg for my family. We're not just unlucky, we're cursed. Like, should probably hire an exorcist cursed. Like, maybe we offended a witch in a past life cursed. Let me give you a taste of what I mean. Last summer, we decided to go on a family vacation. Not a fancy one, mind you. We're talking a road trip to a budget-friendly cabin in the woods. Sounds nice, right? Wrong. Here's how it went down. We hadn't even made it out of the driveway when the car started making a noise that can only be described as dying robot. My dad, ever the optimist, said, it's probably nothing. 2 hours later, we were stranded on the side of the highway, waiting for a tow truck that never showed up. We ended up hitchhiking to the nearest gas station, where my mom accidentally locked the keys in the rental car. The guy at the gas station took one look at us and said, "Y'all look like you've been through it." Understatement of the century. When we finally made it to the cabin, we discovered it was infested with raccoons. Not cute, cartoon raccoons. These were the kind that looked like they'd steal your wallet and then fight you for it. One of them broke into the kitchen and ate all our food, including the emergency ramen stash. My brother tried to scare them off by waving a broom around, but one of them hissed at him, and he dropped the broom and ran. I've never seen a 6 feet 2 inches guy move that fast. By the end of the trip, everyone had lost something. My dad lost his wallet. My mom lost her wedding ring. It turned up in the raccoon's nest, but it was too chewed up to wear. My brother lost his phone, which he later found in the toilet. And me? I lost my dignity when I tripped over a tree root and face-planted into a mud puddle in front of a group of hikers. They clapped. I'm not kidding. They actually clapped. But the vacation was just the beginning. Our bad luck is like a never-ending soap opera. Take the time my dad almost won the state lottery. He's not a gambler, but he bought a scratch-off ticket on a whim. He scratched it off and started screaming, "I won! I won!" We all crowded around him, and sure enough, it looked like he'd hit the jackpot. But when he went to claim the prize, he realized he'd lost the ticket. He swore he'd put it in his wallet, but when he checked, it was gone. We turned the house upside down looking for it, but it was nowhere to be found. A week later, my mom found it in the trash. She'd thrown it away by accident. By then, it was too late to claim the prize. My dad just sat on the couch, staring into space, muttering, "I was this close. This close." Then there was the time we tried to have a family game night. We decided to play Monopoly because, hey, what could go wrong? Everything. Everything could go wrong. First, the dog ate the money. Not just a few bills, the entire stack. Then my brother got into a heated argument with my dad over whether or not he owed rent on Boardwalk. It escalated to the point where my brother flipped the board, sending houses and hotels flying across the room. My mom tried to calm everyone down, but she accidentally knocked over her wine glass, which spilled onto the carpet and left a stain that's still there to this day. We haven't played Monopoly since. And don't even get me started on the time we tried to adopt a cat. We went to the shelter, picked out the sweetest little tabby, and brought her home. She seemed fine at first, but then she started acting weird. Like, staring at the wall for hours weird. We took her to the vet, and it turned out she had a rare condition that made her allergic to everything. Literally everything. The vet said, "I've never seen anything like this." Of course, we hadn't even had her for a week, so we couldn't return her. We ended up spending thousands of dollars on special food, medication, and a hypoallergenic cat bed. She's still with us, and we love her, but she's basically the feline version of a high-maintenance celebrity. The thing is, our bad luck isn't just limited to big events. It's the little things, too. Like the time I bought a brand new pair of shoes and stepped in gum the first time I wore them. Or the time my mom tried to bake a cake for my birthday and accidentally used salt instead of sugar. Or the time my brother got a flat tire on the way to his job interview and showed up late, only to find out the position had already been filled. It's like the universe has a personal vendetta against us. But here's the thing. As unlucky as we are, we've learned to laugh about it. Sure, we're broke, and sure, we've had more than our fair share of disasters, but we've got each other. And honestly, I wouldn't trade my crazy, cursed family for anything. Well, maybe for a winning lottery ticket. But even then, I'd probably lose it. If I thought the vacation and the lottery ticket were bad, I was wrong. Oh, so wrong. Our family's bad luck isn't just a series of unfortunate events, it's a lifestyle. It's like we're starring in our own tragicomedy, and the universe is the director, cackling maniacally behind the scenes. Let me tell you about the time we tried to host a family reunion. Spoiler alert, it did not go well. It all started when my Aunt Linda suggested we have a big family get-together at our house. "It'll be fun," she said. "We'll have food, games, and quality time." What she didn't say was, "It'll be a disaster, and we'll all regret it for the rest of our lives." The day of the reunion started off fine. My mom spent hours cooking enough food to feed a small army. There was lasagna, fried chicken, potato salad, and a giant chocolate cake that looked like it belonged on a baking show. My dad set up tables and chairs in the backyard, and my brother and I were tasked with hanging up decorations. We had streamers, balloons, and even one of those cheesy welcome family banners. Everything was going smoothly. Too smoothly. The first sign of trouble came when Uncle Bob showed up with his new girlfriend, Karen. Karen was, well, let's just say she had a personality as loud as her neon pink leggings. Within 5 minutes of arriving, she'd already insulted my mom's lasagna, is this store-bought, and accidentally knocked over a pitcher of lemonade, which spilled all over the tablecloth. My mom forced a smile and said, "It's fine, really," but I could see the vein in her forehead throbbing. Then the weather turned. Out of nowhere, dark clouds rolled in, and it started pouring rain. Everyone scrambled to move the food and chairs inside, but it was too late. The potato salad was floating in a puddle, the cake was soggy, and my dad slipped on the wet grass and landed in mud. He tried to play it off by saying, "I meant to do that," but no one was buying it. The chaos didn't stop there. My cousin Tim brought his dog, Max, who immediately started chasing our cat, Whiskers, the allergic one. Whiskers bolted up the curtains, knocking over a lamp in the process. The lamp shattered, and Max started barking so loudly that the neighbors called the police. When the officers showed up, Karen tried to flirt with one of them, which only made things more awkward. By the end of the night, the house was a disaster zone. There was mud on the carpet, food stains on the walls, and a trail of paw prints leading from the living room to the kitchen. My mom looked like she was about to cry, and my dad was sitting in the corner, muttering, "Why did we think this was a good idea?" But the reunion wasn't even the worst of it. Oh no, the worst was yet to come. A few months later, my brother decided to propose to his girlfriend, Sarah. He'd been planning it for weeks. He bought a ring, booked a fancy restaurant, and even wrote a speech. It was going to be perfect. The night of the proposal, everything seemed to be going according to plan. My brother and Sarah arrived at the restaurant, and the waiter led them to a table with a view of the city skyline. My brother was nervous, but excited. He reached into his pocket to grab the ring, and it was gone. Panic set in. He searched his pockets, his jacket, even his shoes, but the ring was nowhere to be found. Sarah, thinking he was acting strange, asked if everything was okay. My brother, sweating bullets, said, yeah, everything's fine, and tried to change the subject. When they got home, my brother called me in a panic. "I lost the ring," he said. "What do I do?" I told him to retrace his steps, so he went back to the restaurant, the parking lot, even the gas station where he'd stopped to fill up the car. No luck. The next day, Sarah found the ring in the couch cushions. Turns out my brother had been practicing his proposal speech on the couch and must have dropped it. He was relieved, but now he had to explain why he'd been acting so weird the night before. He ended up proposing in the living room, surrounded by pizza boxes and laundry baskets. She said yes, but I'm pretty sure she's still teasing him about it. And then there was the time I tried to start a small business. I thought, hey, maybe I can turn our bad luck around by becoming an entrepreneur. Big mistake. I decided to sell handmade candles online. I spent weeks researching recipes, buying supplies, and perfecting my craft. I even came up with a catchy name, Wickedly Lucky. I thought it was clever. My brother said it was cringe. The first batch of candles turned out great. They smelled amazing, burned evenly, and looked professional. I was so proud of myself. I listed them on Etsy and waited for the orders to roll in. And they did. My first customer left a glowing review, and I thought, this is it. I'm going to be a successful business owner. Then the bad luck struck. My second customer left a 1-star review because their candle exploded. Yes, exploded. I have no idea how it happened. I followed the instructions perfectly, but apparently the wax overheated and shattered the glass jar. The customer included a photo of their ruined coffee table, along with the caption, "Worst candles ever." I tried to fix the problem by offering refunds and free replacements, but was too late. The negative reviews scared off other customers, and my sales plummeted. To make matters worse, my dog knocked over a box of candles, spilling wax all over the carpet. I spent hours trying to clean it up, but the stain is still there, a permanent reminder of my failed business venture. The thing is, no matter how bad things get, we always find a way to laugh about it. Sure, we're the unluckiest family on earth, but we're also the closest. We've been through so much together that nothing can tear us apart. Not exploding candles, not raccoon-infested vacations, not even Karen and her neon pink leggings. And who knows? Maybe one day our luck will turn around. Maybe we'll win the lottery and not lose the ticket. Maybe we'll finally have a family reunion that doesn't end in disaster. Or maybe we'll just keep stumbling through life, one hilarious mishap at a time. Either way, I wouldn't trade my family for anything. Well, maybe for a lifetime supply of ketchup packets. But even then, I'd probably lose them. If I thought our bad luck had peaked with the family reunion, the failed proposal, and the exploding candles, I was sorely mistaken. Our curse isn't just a series of unfortunate events, it's a full-blown saga. It's like we're living in a sitcom where the writers keep raising the stakes, and the laugh track is just us crying softly in the corner. Let me tell you about the time we tried to renovate the house. Spoiler alert, it was a disaster of epic proportions. It all started when my dad decided the house needed a refresh. He'd been binge-watching home renovation shows and got it into his head that we could do it ourselves. "How hard can it be?" he said. Famous last words. We started with the kitchen. My dad's grand plan was to install new cabinets, replace the countertops, and add a backsplash. He even drew up a blueprint which looked like it had been sketched on a napkin during a fever dream. My mom was skeptical but agreed to let him try. "Just promise me you won't tear down a load-bearing wall," she said. He promised. He lied. The first day of the renovation, my dad accidentally drilled a hole through a water pipe. Water started spraying everywhere, and we had to call a plumber to fix it. The plumber took one look at the mess and said, "Y'all need Jesus." He wasn't wrong. Then there was the incident with the cabinets. My dad insisted on building them himself, even though he'd never so much as assembled an IKEA bookshelf. The result was, well, let's just say they looked like they'd been put together by a drunk raccoon. One of the doors fell off as soon as we opened it, and another one was so crooked it wouldn't close. My mom tried to be supportive, but I could see the disappointment in her eyes. The countertops were next. My dad decided to save money by buying a slab of granite from a guy he met at the hardware store. The guy promised it was high quality, but when we got home, we realized it was cracked down the middle. My dad tried to fix it with duct tape, which only made it worse. We ended up having to buy a new slab, which cost twice as much as the first one. And then there was the backsplash. My dad thought it would be a good idea to let my brother and me handle it. Big mistake. We accidentally used the wrong kind of adhesive, and the tiles started falling off as soon as we put them up. One of them hit my dad on the head, and he spent the rest of the day sulking on the couch. By the end of the renovation, the kitchen looked worse than when we started. The cabinets were lopsided, the countertops were uneven, and the backsplash was more of a backsplat. My mom tried to put a positive spin on it by saying, "At least it's unique," but we all knew the truth. We'd failed spectacularly. But the kitchen renovation wasn't even the worst of it. Oh no, the worst was yet to come. A few months later, my mom decided to throw a surprise birthday party for my dad. She spent weeks planning it, sending out invitations and ordering decorations. She even baked a cake shaped like a toolbox because my dad loves tools. Never mind that he can't use them properly. The day of the party, everything seemed to be going according to plan. My mom had convinced my dad to go out for the day, and we spent the morning setting up. We hung streamers, blew up balloons, and arranged the food on the table. My mom was so proud of herself. "This is going to be perfect," she said. Famous last words. The first sign of trouble came when the dog knocked over the punch bowl. Red punch went everywhere, staining the carpet and ruining the tablecloth. My mom tried to clean up, but she slipped on the wet floor and landed in the cake. The toolbox cake. It was a total loss. Then the guests started arriving. My Aunt Linda brought her famous potato salad, which she accidentally left in the car for 3 hours. It was warm and smelled questionable. My cousin Tim brought his kids, who immediately started running around the house like wild animals. One of them knocked over a lamp, and another one spilled juice on the couch. And then there was Karen. Of course, Karen showed up. She was wearing a sequin dress that looked like it belonged at a disco, and she brought a bottle of wine that she insisted on opening herself. She used a corkscrew she found in the kitchen, which turned out to be a screwdriver. The cork broke off inside the bottle, and Karen spent the next hour trying to fish it out with a fork. The final blow came when my dad arrived. He walked in, saw the mess, and said, "What's going on here?" My mom, covered in cake and punch, burst into tears. "It was supposed to be a surprise," she wailed. My dad tried to comfort her, but he accidentally stepped on a balloon, which popped loudly and scared the dog. The dog ran into the kitchen, knocking over a chair, which knocked over a lamp, which knocked over a vase. It was like a scene from a slapstick comedy. But here's the thing. Despite all the chaos, my dad said it was the best birthday he'd ever had. "It's not about the decorations or the cake," he said. "It's about being with the people you love." And honestly, that's what makes our family so special. We might be the unluckiest people on earth, but we've got each other. And that's worth more than a perfect kitchen or a toolbox cake. If there's one thing I've learned from being part of the unluckiest family on earth, it's that life is unpredictable. Just when you think things can't get any worse, they do. But sometimes, just sometimes, the universe throws you a bone. And when it does, you hold on to it like it's the last ketchup packet in the house. Let me tell you about the time we finally caught a break. It started, as most of our stories do, with a disaster. My mom had been saving up for months to buy a new car. Our old one was on its last legs, literally. The passenger door didn't open, the air conditioning only worked when it felt like it, and the radio was stuck on a station that played nothing but polka music. I wish I were joking. After months of scrimping and saving, my mom finally had enough money to buy a used car from a dealership. She was so excited. "This is it," she said. "Our luck is finally turning around." Famous last words. We drove to the dealership, and my mom picked out a shiny red sedan. It wasn't fancy, but it was reliable. Or so we thought. We signed the paperwork, handed over the money, and drove off the lot feeling like we'd won the lottery. That feeling lasted exactly 3 miles. The car broke down on the highway. Smoke started pouring out of the engine, and the car came to a sputtering halt. We had to call a tow truck, which cost an arm and a leg, and the dealership refused to give us a refund. "All sales are final," they said. My mom looked like she was about to cry. "I just want a car that works," she said. "Is that too much to ask?" But here's where the silver lining comes in. While we were waiting for the tow truck, a man pulled over to see if we needed help. He introduced himself as Tom, and he happened to be a mechanic. He took one look at the car and said, "This thing's a death trap. Let me help you out." Tom not only fixed the car for free, but he also introduced us to his brother, who was selling his old van. It wasn't pretty, it was covered in dents and had a faint smell of stale French fries, but it ran like a dream. And the best part? He sold it to us for a fraction of what we'd paid for the death trap sedan. That wasn't the only time the universe decided to cut us some slack. A few months later, my brother entered a raffle at a local fair. He didn't think much of it, he just wanted the free tote bag they were giving out, but then he won. Not just any prize either. He won a year's supply of pizza. Yes, you read that right. A year's supply of pizza. At first, we thought it was a joke. But when the pizza started showing up at our door every week, we realized it was real. For the first time in our lives, we felt like we'd won something. And let me tell you, there's nothing quite like the feeling of biting into a slice of free pizza after a lifetime of bad luck. But the biggest break of all came when my dad's old boss called him out of the blue. My dad had been laid off from his job a year earlier, and he'd been struggling to find work ever since. His old boss offered him a new position, one that paid even better than his old job. My dad was over the moon. "This is it," he said. "Our luck is finally turning around." Yes, he said it again. We've learned not to jinx it. Now, I'm not saying our bad luck is completely gone. Just last week, I tried to make pancakes and accidentally set off the smoke alarm. And the week before that, my brother's van got a flat tire on the way to pick up his free pizza. But things are looking up. We've got a car that runs a steady income and enough pizza to last us until next year. And honestly, that's more than we could have hoped for. So what's the moral of the story? Life is messy. It's unpredictable. And sometimes, it feels like the universe is out to get you. But if you can laugh through the chaos, hold on to the people you love, and appreciate the little wins, like free pizza and a van that doesn't smell like feet, you'll be just fine. And who knows? Maybe one day, our luck will turn around for good. Maybe we'll win the lottery and not lose the ticket. Maybe we'll finally have a family reunion that doesn't end in disaster. Or maybe we'll just keep stumbling through life, one hilarious mishap at a time. Either way, I wouldn't trade my family for anything. Well, maybe for a lifetime supply of pizza. But even then, I'd probably lose it. Well, there you it. Told you it's a wild one. Don't forget to comment your thoughts on the story, and I will see you in the next.